Good morning. Good morning, my friends. It's morning for us. I know I always do that. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host Spaz.
And as always, brought to you by Not Enough Caffeine.
I've only had one double shot so far this morning, and that's not going to be enough. Hopefully, my wife will make me some coffee because I'm going to need it. Friends, we're doing a morning show for us because our guests are both in Sweden. Please welcome from Falkenberg, Sweden, Philip Carlson, and from Stockholm, Sweden, Nicholas Forso. Good morning, gentlemen. Or afternoon for you.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for being here. Now, folks, we're talking about the charming and adorable, and many other words, space exploration game, Adios Amigos, which hit Steam a couple of months ago, but it was on the consoles first, right? Was it on a console before it came to PC? Am I remembering that right?
Oh yeah, no, we released on Xbox and PC simultaneously.
Oh, okay, that's what threw me.
But it's a follow-up title, or this is like.
Oh, that's what threw me. So the first game was called just Adios.
Yes, it was called.
I see.
Just Adios.
And
it was for PS4.
Oh, okay, that's what's throwing me. And if I remember correctly, Adios actually stands for Amazing Discoveries in Outer Space.
Yeah, that's correct. That's you're the only one in the world that remembers that abbreviation.
Well, I thought it was really cute. So, folks,
it's a really stupid name.
It's not a stupid name, but folks, I've done a few videos of this game now, and if you're unaware, it is a really charming space exploration game where there's no combat, and you're not really on a timer, so you can kind of take your time. But there is an impetus to move forward. So why don't you guys explain? Let's start at the beginning. Like, where did Adios and then Adios Amigos come from? How did that get started?
I think it was me that I wanted to make a game. I made a prototype of a game where we wanted to try to land on planets, because I hadn't seen that in a while, and this is like I think it's over 10 years ago or something. So I started to make a little prototype, and I made it for that's XNA, I think, for the old Xbox 360. I think it was the target platform at that time that I wanted to do something for. But then, we worked at both me and Philip worked at DICE. So when we quit our jobs at DICE, or Ghost Games actually, because we ended up on Ghost Games, both of us, at the same time as well. So when we quit, I quit first my day job and started doing an indie game like full time.
Then I quit a few months later and joined the project, basically.
Yeah. So that's how it started, I think. So I had a demo or something that I showed Philip, and he was crazy enough to join me.
You do have to be a little bit crazy to get into game development.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It helps.
Yeah, definitely. So you had the first game, which is Adios, which is a PS4 game.
Yes. And then we made we made our own engine and stuff like that.
Oh, is this your own engine?
Yeah, it's we are programmers, both of us, so we like to program. So we have of course used some like middleware or some like libraries and stuff, but it's our own. So there's a lot of like tech development for the first game, and then we decided that we wanted to port this to other platforms. So we started to doing a port to Xbox, but then that went completely overboard because we started to add a lot of features.
And then someone came up with a bright idea of adding split screen co-op, and yeah, that made the game a whole lot better. But it also extended the development time by I don't know, a year at least.
Yeah, and we added in all the stuff that we wanted to have in the first game, but we didn't have the time or resources to do it because since we are completely self-funded. There's we spend our own savings money making these games.
Wow.
So yeah, so when the money has run out, then the game is supposed to be done. So yeah. So we ran out of time or money the last. You kind of want to release something anyway, so 2 years is enough, or you want to do something. It would be nice to release something every other year or something. So now I think this is the game that we perhaps wanted to do in the first place. Adios Amigos.
Okay, and so
does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. And what's fascinating about it is I think one of the most fascinating things about it to me is how you have full physics, like orbital physics and gravity, and a full orbital physics and everything, and yet it's still probably one of the most accessible games I've played with the kind of full orbital physics you guys have in your game. It's so, I'm not gonna say it's easy to fly around, but it's a lot more straightforward than say Kerbal Space Program. So
sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I really have to applaud you on making it so accessible.
Oh, thank you. No, we have put a lot of time and effort to make it. It was a weird game to make. I think we have experimented. You have to you do something and you see if it works, and then you add something new, and so you basically have experimented all the time in the engine until you get the results. Or is this fun or not? Is it cool to add a tow cable, or what? How should the camera work and stuff like that? It's something that has evolved during these, how many years? 6 years or something. So it ended up. It's weird. It's a game without an elevator pitch. It has just organically grown or something. It feels like we have planted a tree or something, and then it's.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to just summarize in one line. I mean, it's an exploration game, but it's also a resource gathering game. But it's also a roguelike, but it's also really full physics. Yeah, it's all these things, but it's so seamless. One of my favorite, it's a tiny little thing. One of my favorite things that this game has is when you're trying to line up with a planet and you're using your thrusters, and then if you're going to line up with one, it just shows a little circle as to where you're going to hit, where you're going to meet the planet. It's just so simple and effective.
Yeah, it's kind of wanted the game to be we wanted the game to be playable by anyone, I think, because it shouldn't really feel I'm a huge space nerd. I kind of want to, when I watch a movie, I kind of rank them by what kind of space physics they have, if it's good space physics or not. It's they are lazy, there's artificial gravity thing. Or stuff like that. It's I'm a huge space nerd, so I kind of wanted a game that reflects how space feels like, or should feel like, or something like that, or it should feel realistic, but so it's a little universe that has some rules that you visit. It's a small, tiny 2D universe. So yeah, I'm not really sure where I'm going with this one.
Yeah, but basically, I mean, all the game features everything is part of the actual simulation. So if we haven't been able to do things as part of the simulation, we haven't cheated anywhere. It's basically we apply forces to things, and that's why they move.
Yeah, so the planets are real physical objects, so they can collide with each other, and they they can fall
spin
into
out
the
of
sun
orbit
and
or
spin
whatever.
out in
Oh my
orbit,
God,
things like
really?
that.
I've not
Yeah,
seen
so
that.
No,
I've seen.
there's like stuff on the later levels, I think, where you can.
With a tow cable and enough force, you can,
I love the tow cable.
Enough fuel.
And
Oh,
enough
yeah.
fuel, yeah.
true that.
I have been on planets
Yeah,
where there are big old asteroids smashing into it, and that's freaking terrifying.
Yeah, that's like also just a result of we're just letting everything loose in the simulation and see what happens. So yeah, I think the biggest addition in ADIOS Amigos, except for the co-op things, are the space stations, because those are very complicated to make.
Those are very challenging. Those are very challenging because it's not like you have magnetic boots or anything, so you have to like really be careful trying to get into one of those things.
Yeah, you can. I'm not sure if you know that, but you can walk along the walls actually and jump and stuff like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've just been like kind of.
I tried it and then flew off after I jumped because I jumped in the wrong direction.
Oh,
and,
no.
Well, yes. Yeah. I was able to get back to my ship, though. That was good.
Oh, that's good.
So you kind of have almost magnetic. So you have kind of magnetic boots-ish. There's not like they are not like super magnetic, but there's like
Ish.
you can crawl along the walls actually. So
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I was just like doing a little jetpack, like to go around it and get in the door.
yeah. Eventually, you run out of jetpack.
Yeah,
So
that
it
goes
goes.
quick. That goes real quick.
Yeah, so you can actually jump around and like do stuff inside of those. Yeah, they were also incredibly complicated to make those space stations. Like they have an AI that tries to try to maintain their orbit all the time. So, and since we just add random amounts of like thrusters and rooms and stuff like that, so they're not always super like they're not really might not be good to or they might not be suited for space travel or like doing sorry, I'm losing words here. English is not my primary language, but
Don't worry about it.
yeah. No, but I mean, we kind of just the generator that generates these space stations. We throw things together and then we say, "Good luck, go and fly." And some of these space stations are better at flying than others.
And am I right in that if you are inside a space station, you can fire the thrusters? Because I've seen buttons, but I've been afraid to push them.
Yes. So there's like two kinds of thrusters. One is fired when you touch them, and another is actually fired when you can go grab one of those, and then you can press the accelerator button to control the thruster actually. So there's two kinds of thrusters inside the space stations. So yep.
Wow.
All the stuff that starts to fall towards you when you accelerate. That's stuff that we like.
Yeah, I've gotten stuck in a couple of space stations when stuff falls in a certain way. It's like, okay, so there's a bookshelf and a bed, and I can't move either of them. Great.
Great. You can, but then I'm not sure if you know this, but you can also like you can affect the space station by towing it around. So if it starts to spin, for instance, you can use your ship to
Oh my God! I always forget you can remote control your ship. I should have done.
So if you get stuck, so yeah.
I should have done that.
Actually, yeah, you can tow it around, and then it will affect the stuff inside the space station because you won't be locked if you. So you can always use the ship to solve those kinds of issues.
That is another nice little accessibility feature that I completely forgot to mention. Is like, folks, when you get stuck somewhere, like some planets have pointy spikes that your little character might get stuck on. So what I've had to do anyway when that happens is remote control my ship and have it pick me up before you die.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of just a result of we wanting to have we don't want the player to get stuck. You should always try. You should always be able to get out of a particular situation. So that's why you can remote control your ship. because otherwise it would be a pretty frustrating game, I think.
Yeah, it would be. And it's great because I was saying this before the stream. While there is no combat in the game at all, there's no guns, there's not one gun, there are a myriad of ways to die.
Yes,
Horrible accidents may occur.
Yeah, horrible accidents will occur. Let's not say may. They will at some point.
We're really proud of.
Like, you don't know how many times I've come into a planet too close. Like, 2 or 3 times where I've come in too fast and blowed up because I basically crashed.
It's nice. I kind of enjoy. I like games where it's fun to fail.
It is fun because you don't like lose a lot. You don't like whatever you found you get to keep, like in terms of collectibles and new ships and new hats and things like that. So all you lost is a little bit of time, and that's fine, you know, and that's fine. You know, it's not like
short runs.
Yeah, it's really great for short runs because the systems aren't huge. It's not hard to get around. And you could spend as much or as little time as you want in them. Like, you could, like... So, folks, your goal is to, like, hyperspace jump to the end of... to a new place. And there are, like, 3 phases. And to get to the end of the first phase, you got to fill up your star meter so your hyperdrive can jump. And you jump, like, a light year every time. But, like, the thing is, you could, like, tootle around a system until your star meter is full, and then you can just leave if you wanted to. Or, hey, there's 2 other planets I haven't seen yet. What's over there? I might need some more fuel. Let's go check it out. There might be a new ship to unlock. There might be a new hat. And hats, like... What do you call hats in the game? There's actually a phrase for them.
Yes, amplification devices.
Yes. Yeah, they kind of weigh you down, if I remember correctly, so you don't fly off a planet, which can happen if the gravity is low enough. You can fly off a planet when you jump.
Yeah, they are like they're actually like carrying, like game and mechanic wise, it's like carrying some kind of cargo or something. It's the same thing, but you always have them. So your ship is so you can it can weigh you down. Yeah, on like planets with very low gravity stuff like that. You can use them as defense actually also.
Wait, what?
If you
How do you use them as defense?
You can throw them at an alien if they're chasing you, for instance.
Oh, because there are some aliens. Not all aliens will hurt you, but there are some that can hurt you.
Yeah, there are some aliens that chase you down sometimes and want to eat you. Now you can throw your hat at them and then it will slow them down a bit.
I did not know that. Oh, that's amazing. So how do you know, like, how can you tell which of the aliens that are trying to eat you? Like, is there a way to tell? Because I couldn't notice. I didn't notice a way.
No, you can tell it. They usually
They're
look
big and hairy.
scary.
They're usually
if they have teeth and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yellow
seeing
eyes.
Yellow eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's some there. That's all. It's like it's not. You can always see the particular alien will always do the same thing to you. So they have actually some different behaviors, all of them. So. And I think the discovery screen actually give you some clues.
Oh, okay. I have to look at that.
Yeah.
I have to look. So again, folks, you're basically your main goal is to charge up your hyperdrive so you can jump from system to system. But you also have fuel to worry about, or energy, whichever you want to call it. And you use fuel for everything from fueling your little jetpack to flying around to repairing your ship, to healing your character, healing your little guy. So fuel is insanely important. Like, it's probably one of the most important things in the game, really. And so it kind of encourages you to explore these planets to find more fuel. You know, even if you filled up your star meter, there's a good reason to fly around. And
yes, so you kind of need to balance these two, like the discovery points versus the fuel all the time.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, I really love that because it gives you motivation to keep moving forward. You know, you don't feel like
kind of wanted oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, we kind of wanted a game where you get rewarded for exploring. I think that's the main. We kind of want the player to feel like a space explorer.
which is
And
I was gonna say, which is wonderful because not enough games focus on exploration. Really.
thank you.
Uh,
No, so that's the other reason, or like one of the reasons that we don't have any combat, because I don't think that if you would be a space explorer, you probably wouldn't shoot the stuff that you find on planets. So that's why it just fits nicely into the theme, I think.
oh yeah.
Well, it does go against that notion of we come in peace, shoot to kill. That, some people just
Exactly.
some people just enjoy that. That's fine, but
there are
if you're
also-
an explorer first.
Yeah, there are also plenty of games that already offer that. Like if you want to go around
Exactly.
shooting stuff, there are tons of games. But if you want to just focus on exploration, there's maybe a handful. There's this. There's Noctis. Would you say No Man's Sky is more focused on exploration?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, but that's Starflight, I guess. Though it has combat, it's much more exploration focused. That's there might be other folks. If you can think of any more exploration focused games than those, please hit us up because that's all I can think of. Maybe there aren't many.
Perhaps you could like say that Elite Dangerous. You can be explorer.
That's
if
true.
You want to in that.
I mean, it's a way to play. It doesn't mean that it's the focus of the game, though.
No.
I would say the focus of the game is combat first with exploration as a secondary, but the majority of the players are going to be focused on combat.
Yes, that's probably true.
Yeah, it's silly to fly around that universe without guns. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. It's just a bad idea. But But I love how death in your game comes from either mistakes or just the environment. Like it's much more The Martian, I think, than Star Trek or Star Wars, which is even when Star Trek says it's all exploration focused, it's like, is it really though? It can be, but the games certainly aren't.
It's funny that you say that because I think, like, when it comes to movies, I think that like perhaps Interstellar is one of the movies that I really enjoy, and
I still need to see that one. I hate to admit it.
And when you also, actually, a movie that has had some influence on the game is actually Gravity, because I got like inspired by like the scenes where she jump around there in the debris, and that's kind of how those space stations came into Adios Amigos, because I kind of wanted to have that kind of feel to it as that movie.
I can't watch that movie. The trailer, I have such a fear of heights that the trailer just noped me out. I'm sitting in the theater watching this, and I saw the trailer in IMAX, and I'm like, no freaking way.
It's a pretty, it's a scary movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
It looked utterly terrifying. It looked utterly terrifying. So yeah, no, thank you. but the fact that one thing I love about your game is space is still dangerous. Like you can die from a variety of ways, but because your graphics are so adorable and charming that even when you're dying, you're not like, oh god, I never get like, some games will give me an anxiety attack, like because my character is dying and I feel really bad. But even though I feel bad that this character is dying in this game, because it's kind of a roguelike and it's so cute, you never get too attached where you're like, oh no, you know? So
you know that you will have another round soon anyway. So it's
exactly.
Deal, perhaps.
Exactly. It's kind of like Moon, where you're a clone. Oh, sorry, did I just spoil the entire premise of that movie?
Ruined. No.
If you all haven't seen Moon by now, it's your fault, basically, because that movie is amazing.
But now I can't see it.
But But no, I love, like, how did you guys come up with, like, because it's realistic and yet it's adorable. Like, how did you find that balance between these realistic physics that could kill you and these adorable graphics? Like, how did that become a design decision?
I think one thing is that we were very fortunate to work with our graphic artist, John Holmvall, who is a comic book artist. He makes comic books for children normally.
Oh, that explains so much about the art style of this game. That explains so much.
Yeah, we kind of just clicked when we met, and like he made some stuff, and it's like, wow, this is exactly how how the game should look. So yeah, it's really nice. He actually draws everything. It's watercolor art, which he draws with a brush, watercolors, and then he scans them and finish them up in Photoshop. So it's the majority of the game is. So if you can actually spot that and look at the planet surfaces, and you will see like these spots of like color, like floaty, watery color stuff. You can if you know what to look for, you will see it. So it's a big watercolor painting, everything.
Oh wow, that's one reason I think it looks so beautiful. But so that's kind of fascinating. So it's a mix of hand drawn art with procedural generation.
Yes.
Wow, that's no wonder it looks so. It really does look unique.
Really impressive.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, really impressive graphically.
Did we say that his name is John Holmvall? So we very, very fortunate.
Yeah, if you maybe at the end of this, send me a link to his comics so I could share, or put it like, we have a green room. I don't know if you saw that, but we have a green room that you can talk into, just for us. And so if you want to put a link to his work in there, I could share. I'll add it to the show notes, so folks can check that out. Because folks, yeah, the art is just. There's so much charming about this game, from the controls to the art. Well, next thing I want to talk about is the music, real quick, because I'm a game music nut. I love game soundtracks. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. But your soundtrack is an amazing mix of kind of tension movie music and kind of jazz, lounge music. It's an interesting mix of both. We got to get out of here, and hey, you did it. Good job, buddy. Let's relax in the lounge. It's like, wow.
It's actually a childhood friend of mine called Joachim Kanon that has done all the music in this game. So, and he's a developer by day and musician by night. So he has several bands and things that he has been playing in, but he plays almost all instruments himself. So and he's really good at playing the saxophone, which is part of the soundtrack, which we're really proud of to have a saxophone in the space game soundtrack.
That sax solo in when you get all the stars and you kind of have that jazzy upbeat sax solo number. Once I've discovered the soundtrack the other day on Bandcamp, I've pretty much had that on loop for like the last 4 days. Just those, because the soundtrack has 2 versions of that, a remix and the original version, and I've just had those pretty much on loop like for days now because it's just so fun to listen to. Aries, now Aries in YouTube asks, does this have multiplayer? Interesting question, because I was just about to get to that. So right now the game has local multiplayer for up to 4 players, which I've yet to try. But one of the reasons I think I might be able to try it is my wife is not into video games at all. But you guys have added an interesting thing called, what is it, rookie mode?
Yes.
So what is that? Let's explain what that is. I'm very curious to hear about this, because you never hear about things like that in games. So what is rookie mode?
So yeah, basically, I think the idea with rookie mode came from the fact that we're both parents, and my daughter is almost 7 now, and she's really interested in what I do all day, and she really, she likes the game. And before we rookie mode, she couldn't. Pretty complicated thing to control the ship, and we use basically all of the buttons on. So to make it more accessible for basically children, or if you want to play with your whole family, that's sort of how the idea. And
so does rookie mode like reduce the amount of buttons you have to use? Like how does it work?
So a few things about it is like you have like an automatic jetpack when you're running around on planets.
Oh.
So if you're a rookie, you jump and you keep the jump button pressed, and it's gonna, the jetpack is gonna kick in and let you, reach higher altitudes, for example. Be limited. You're not gonna be allowed to be pilot in the spaceship, for example, and you can't exit the spaceship.
Because that takes a bit more skill.
Oh,
exactly. And you won't be able to, like, by accident exit the spaceship, and that would require someone to rescue you almost immediately, and it sort of it makes the game harder for everyone. So
yes, and also we do find things like you will automatically enter the ship if there's a pilot in it, and you just touch the ship and stuff like that. So there's a lot of button reduction. There's a lot of buttons that you don't really need to press. And
I'm gonna have to try this with the wife, because that's one of her biggest complaints about video games today, is that there's so many buttons. Too many buttons, she says. So and
it's true.
Yeah, it is true. We love our buttons, but I'm gonna have to try this with her and see if she gets it, because this game is so fun. I can imagine this being a great party game when you have a few people over. I'm gonna have to try it on the Steam link.
Yeah, you could believe that, but the problem I think with our game and parties is if you drink too much beer, it's kind of
the frequency of horrible accidents goes up quite.
Oh, I'm
rapidly.
Sure.
I'm
absolutely sure. So the game has basically three not systems, but phases, right? Like you get to the end of the first. What are they, chapters? Like how does the gameplay loop work? Because I've only gotten to level 6, so that's as far as I've gotten.
Yeah. Is it do you think about? Is it the journeys that you're talking about, perhaps?
Yeah, the journeys.
So there's.
Go ahead.
There's 3 journeys in the game. The first journey is to find your home, and we call that the Odyssey. And then after you find your home, you will get a new mission. So, and that's the next voyage. Then that's the next journey, and that is called the voyage. And then we have a final journey, which is called Endeavor, and that's a super hard journey, which you could that we have designed it to be so hard that me and Philip are going to have problems with it. So.
Oh my God! Has anyone finished it yet?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Those people.
It's quite possible to do it, but I mean, it's hard enough so that ourselves won't be able to complete it every time, or it's actually it's a number of tries usually.
Yeah, it's exciting even for us. I think that was the plan, because since this game is so complicated and you kind of, since there's a lot of tricks that you need to learn about how to conserve energy, and you kind of need to employ all of those tricks in Endeavor, otherwise you won't get very far.
Right.
So,
oh boy!
Like the final lesson.
Now, one thing I also wanted to talk about is your tutorial system, because it's kind of fascinating. Like a lot of games, when there's a tutorial, they try and mix it up in the first couple of missions, or sometimes they'll have it separate. But you guys have a tutorial that is just very casual. That's the best word I can think of it. It's like very casual, and it comes up every so often. Like you have your first tutorial, and then like you'll play a little bit, and you'll come back and like, oh, here's how the jetpack works. You'll play a little bit. Oh, here's how remote. Like it's very organic. You know, like it lets you play, it lets you fail, and then it teaches you something. You know, which I thought was really interesting. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's mostly. I don't think we would have. I think we kind of fixed it from the last game because we kind of learned a lot of lessons when we did Amazing Discoveries in Outer Space. Which this is a follow-up game for. So we kind of wanted it to be more, feel more like it's like tutorials in games are usually feels like a chore sometimes, or something that you have to do, and it's like, oh, can I skip this, please? So we kind of wanted to feel like it. You got a little bit of story, and it's like it shouldn't really feel like a tutorial. But yeah. I kind of wanted to do more stuff with this, but we didn't really have the time. But it's good that you like it as it is.
Oh, I think it's kind of fascinating because it like gives you enough of a nudge to try something new on your next run. Like, oh, that's how the jetpack works, and then you try, then you fail, and then you maybe discovered a new thing. Like, here's how the hats work. You know, I think that was the last one I got to. Was here's how the hats work. So
yeah, we kind of wanted. It feels like the design of this game is that we want people to discover stuff on their own, basically. So we don't really tell you a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you have no idea that you can, for instance, go inside the space station or something like that. We kind of want people to figure stuff out by themselves, but still it's pretty complicated game, so we need to give players some clues on what's possible. So we kind of teach the bare minimum of the game, but then the rest is out. You have to figure stuff out for yourself.
Well, it was kind of cool because I myself didn't know that you can. I myself did not know you can go into space stations until someone told me. I'm like, oh, because I did not recognize the entrance. I didn't know that the light shining out was a way in. I had no idea. But that's clever.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it depends on what happens also in the game, because eventually, if you play enough rounds, you will probably get a space station crashing down on a planet that you are visiting.
Oh God!
And then you will see that stuff are actually flying out.
Oh gosh!
Wow,
that sounds terrible. That sounds awful.
Pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah, they tend to do that eventually.
Oh, Aries on YouTube is asking if there's any plan for online multiplayer in the future, because right now there's only local multiplayer.
It would be nice.
Yeah. No, there was a program. I saw this. People talking about this on the forum. There's a program. Does anyone remember what it's called? Where you could fool, using like peer-to-peer, you can fool your computer to thinking that someone who's online is actually connected to a gamepad on your own PC.
Parsec, is that what it's called?
Yes. Thank you. Apparently, Ares 106, people have used Parsec successfully to play this online. So it's not something built into the game itself, but it can be done. Because
yes, and then you basically stream your local co-op session over the internet, and I think people say that it works good. I think we could perhaps look into like integrating it a bit nicely into the game or stuff or something like that. But like doing like real online multiplayer is probably not something that we will do for this title. Perhaps for some future title or something like that. But perhaps it would be possible for us to do some nice integration or something of a service like that to the game. What do you think, Philip?
Yeah, but yeah, doing like a parsec integration is probably something we might look into that actually. But yeah, I think doing a proper online multiplayer support is going to be a lot of work. Where I mean, we're only two persons working on this.
Right, of course. Right, of course.
Yeah,
See, if we get a large enough player base and enough people ask for it, then allocate the time to do that.
If we get a way to pay our bills.
That's totally fair.
That's totally fair.
Then we could do it.
We've been trying to tell people about the game, especially now that it's on sale right now.
Yes, it is.
Right as we speak, folks, the game is $10, and it's usually twice that much. It's worth twice that much because it's deceptive because it looks all cute and stuff, but there's a ton going on here, and there's also a lot of content. Like, there is a lot of content in this game. There's a lot to do, a lot to see, and it's just so fun to play.
I think it's like, it should be around, it depends on how skilled you are, but if you're like average, I think it's like 40 hours.
I believe it.
Of stuff, and then you have the Endeavor. See if you can finish that as well. Good luck.
Wait, the what? Well, what's this?
Endeavor?
No,
like the last journey is pretty hard. And,
right.
We also designed that journey to be really. There's a lot of randomness to it, so it shouldn't really feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. So.
Oh yeah, it's great. The systems are all different. The planets are all different. It does feel very random. Like, it's kind of terrifying to run into a system that doesn't have any planets. So you have to fuel up by skirting the asteroid field and finding like satellites and space stations, and you really have to. It takes a lot of skill to go through an asteroid field in this game. And yet that's what you have to do to fill up your star meter, to find fuel, and whatnot. So if there's no planets, it's kind of terrifying.
It's like you fall off, like if you're in the middle of the ocean or something. You have no land.
Exactly, like you have no land. So it's a little terrifying, but amazing because it's like, okay, there's a space station. I'm gonna have to risk it. Maybe there's some fuel in there. Because I'm running low. So how is the game doing for you guys? Like, would you say it's got a good player base so far?
Yeah, perhaps we would like it to sell better than it's doing. Yeah, we're hoping to get a big. We're let's say this: we're new to Steam, or like we haven't really released that many Steam games, so we're learning how it works with the sales, and wish lists, and things like that. So yeah,
it's kind of a mess. My heart goes out to anyone trying to do this, what you guys are doing, because right now, it's so hard to get eyes on your game. It's so hard to get eyes on your game. So it's sometimes it could be heartbreaking to see games that deserve a bigger following not get the following you feel it deserves. Yeah,
I think it's probably a common problem on Steam.
It's a very we've had whole podcasts about discovery on and visibility on Steam.
My best advice is do not release right before a big Steam sale is coming. The holiday sales, because once you do, you get lost in that shuffle and people don't come back.
Yeah, I
mean, the competition on Steam is murdering, basically. I mean, there are so many games coming out every day. So
every day.
I mean,
every day.
7,000 games last year. It's projected to be over 8,000 by the end of this year, if not already.
And the problem with that is that the large majority of those games are not very good.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for the players as well to find the games that are worth spending money on.
Yeah, there are all these asset flips, so many asset flips, and just all this like garbage being ported over from other languages. Oh, that's a good. That's
well,
a good,
that's not necessarily bad, but
uh,
because that does mean that people who want to buy a game in their own language have a place to buy it. That's not a
Right.
bad thing.
I guess.
I think the issue is
I don't
that
think. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think the issue is that some of those games are just very low quality, sold for
Yeah.
99 cents or the equivalent, and they're just meant to sell 10,000 copies because people want their trading cards, and that's why Steam isn't going to get rid of them, because every sale of those cards means more money that Steam gets from the cut of that sale.
Right.
It's a science releasing a game on Steam.
It really is.
There is, yeah.
Fermi and Ace on our Discord brings up a good point. This would be a good game for the Switch. Have you guys considered that?
Yes, we have. But yeah, perhaps in the future we're releasing on PS4 this winter. So, but yeah,
Awesome.
if we get the opportunity, we would of course try to release the Switch as well.
Yeah, this would be a great Switch game, to be perfectly honest. I don't have a Switch yet, but I do hope to get one within the next 2 years. And yeah, this would be.
Well, you just got the stuff for your computer, so that's a pretty huge expense already.
Yeah, that's why I'm waiting. I'm not going to get a Switch for a while because I just spent multiple thousands of dollars on a new computer.
Yeah, pretty expensive still.
Yeah, especially if you want a good one, especially if you want a really good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Switch would be a great platform for this. PS4 would also is also clearly a great platform because this is such a gamepad game, like such a fantastic gamepad game.
Yeah, it was designed for gamepad first, so. But we haven't really had that many complaints on the mouse and keyboard controls.
No, I have also played it on the mouse and keyboard, and it's fine. It is actually totally fine. But the gamepad does feel a lot more intuitive. But you can do everything on the mouse and keyboard. Like I had no problems, but the gamepad just felt better with this game.
Yeah, it's like that's because the whole control scheme is designed with the gamepad in mind. So
yeah, and it works. It works really well. Like I love how. One of my favorite things is I think it's the Y button. Help you enter your ship with the Y button, but you hold it down to remote control the ship. Just very, very intuitive stuff. And I love the camera controls. Like very, very intuitive. You have the auto camera where you can just zoom in and out with the D-pad, which is real nice. And also very necessary a lot of the time. If you're trying to,
yeah, it's actually insanely complicated to do all of this. It's the problem we have with our game is that it looks so simple because it's like a 2D game, and it's like but now there's like so many difficulties with everything that we do. It's like there's no up, the camera I don't know where to it's like you have to every calculation becomes more complicated because everything needs to be able to rotate, and then the automatic camera needs to like detect when there's stuff close to it and zoom in, and like the amount of asteroids in an asteroid field is something that we take into account when we try to decide if we're going to zoom in. So there's a lot of development that we needed to do to make this game, which is kind of looks very, very simple. Like if you just look at it at a glance, it looks like a Mario title or something, like a 2D Mario game. But it's a Mario without an up, where every planet is a dynamic object.
and that's kind of amazing because from at least my perspective as a player, it's so seamless. It all just works so well together. It's
Thank you.
But yeah, I can only imagine how like the control scheme for the ship, especially the ship, but also your little fella on the planet, like dealing with the physics and everything. It's just there's so many calculations going on here, and because it really is a physics simulation. It is a huge physics simulation with adorable graphics. That's basically what this game is a massive physics system, solar system wide physics simulation with adorable graphics where you can interact with just about everything,
Yeah, we decided to feel like we have rules, but you're allowed to do anything that the control scheme allows you to do. So of course you can exit the ship whenever you want to, in an asteroid field or in just space if you want to.
Yeah, I think the second game I played, I hit the Y button accidentally while I was like flying from one planet to another, and because I was going fast enough, it just flung my pilot like across the system, and I couldn't get back to him in time, so they totally died, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, but we don't really want the player to feel limited. We want the player to feel like it could do anything within the confines of the simulation.
Oh, we have another question. I haven't seen this, but are there any black holes in the game?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh no. Oh, that sounds terrifying. That sounds super duper terrifying. Oh boy.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
We were a bit we took a bit of inspiration from the movie Interstellar there as well. So I've made my own black hole impression from from that movie.
Isn't that
in 2D?
In that movie, don't they use black holes to move around the universe? Isn't that what they use? Am I remembering that?
Actually, travel back in time, I think, as well.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, they do something weird in the end. Yeah.
That movie has time travel? I didn't know that.
It does. But
boy.
That would be... the details of that are a spoiler. So,
yeah, that's fine. Don't tell me anymore. I'll see it eventually. I'm not worried about it.
You should see it.
I plan to. It's just the list of movies I have to see and the amount of free time I have are counter to each other.
Yeah, well, we have added some cool stuff actually to our black hole as well. So if you go, it affects how time flows in the game if you go close to it, for instance. So
what?
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh
pretty
my
cool
god!
To go close to it. Yeah. So we slow down time when you go the closer you get to the edge of a black hole. So there's neat things for you if you manage to find one.
Oh man. Well, I did say this earlier, but I do have to start wrapping up, so I'll just ask this final question. What, if any, are your future plans for this game, besides bringing it to PS4, obviously? Do you have any fixes? Do you have any enhancements coming? Anything like that?
Yeah, we actually just released a pretty big update called 1.1. So after that, I think we will see what the players want, but perhaps like an integration of some kind of parsec or something, I think would be a nice thing, and then of course port to other platforms though, then I think. What do you think, Philip?
And we've discussed maybe adding maybe a new game mode.
Oh,
might be something that we are considering.
You guys should totally add like a what's that game with the cars and the soccer ball? What is that game?
Rocket League.
Yeah, you should totally add like a soccer type mode to this.
I thought you wanted us to add a battle royale mode.
No. Actually, there is a game that just did that. It's a 2D top-down game called Gene Shift, which is kind of like Grand Theft Auto. Which we love.
We absolutely love it.
It's kind of a Grand Theft Auto 2 style game. It's a top-down kind of shooter, and they just add like a 5-minute battle royale mode that is actually amazing.
Cool.
But I was not going to suggest that. I was going to suggest like maybe a soccer game or a capture the flag type of game using the solar system.
And the tow cable to maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea. We will have to think about it. We actually thought of adding something more boring, like a new, like a simulator mode, so to say, the way you can play around without dying.
Oh, that'd be fun.
A flight simulator inside the game.
Oh, whoa.
To make it more accessible, even more accessible. For a lot of people have problems with learning the orbital mechanics.
Oh, wow. That'd be amazing.
If if you wanted to do a competitive multiplayer, it could be something like one side has a station, and they've got to tow the station to a neutral point, and the other side has a whole bunch of asteroids, and they want to drag those to the station.
Oh, I love it! I love it.
That's nice.
That is a fabulous idea.
We should do
Station
that sounds
tow.
like a lot more fun.
Station tow. That's the name. Station tow. You got to tow the station with tow cables to a spot, and the other team tries to stop you.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that sounds
That's really good.
great. That sounds great.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot more fun to do as well than a flight simulator for us, than me and Philip.
That would also be fun, though. That would be a fun little thing. That would be a fun thing to do. So, folks, the game is Adios Amigos. It is on Steam right now. It is on sale for $10. It's normally $20. It is worth it at full price. I mean, if you can get it on sale, great, but it's worth it at full price, too. It's so fun. It is just a fun game to like, oh, I've got 20 minutes. I'm going to fly around a solar system and do some fun, silly shit. You know, it is such a fun game. And there's so much going on. Like, it looks like this, like they said earlier, charming little Super Mario thing, but it has got so much going on underneath the surface that it's just an astounding thing.
If you ever played the NES classic Solar Jetman, it is very reminiscent of that. That's the first thing I thought of when I was playing this earlier. And that's a good comparison because it was a fun game for its time, back in 1990.
Yeah, I think it became a lot more close to Solar Jetman than I actually
Than you intended.
I'll have to look that up. I've never even heard of that one. I'll have to look that up.
I played that a lot as a kid. Actually.
Oh, wow.
As did I.
So a couple of programming notes real quick before we wrap up, my friends. Thursday, if my new computer is working, we're going to be streaming a game called Airships. Was it Conquer the Skies? Is that the subtitle, yes. I think? Yeah, it's a fascinating game of ship design and conquest that we've been looking forward to. And then next week on the show, we're back to our normal time. We're very excited to welcome back Travis Baldry and Eric Schaefer of Double Damage Games to talk about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Sadly, we're not going to be able to play it, but we can at least talk about it. And they're great guests. When we had them back way back for Rebel Galaxy, we had a great time. So we're really looking forward to that. So thank you so much, Philip and Nicholas, for taking the time out of your afternoon to talk to us about Adios Amigos. This game, again, everyone, is fantastic. Fantastic.
And you need to own it.
You really need to buy it. You need to buy it, on sale or not. It is on sale as we record this. But even if it's not, go buy it. It's really, there's just so much to do. It's so great. It's so funny and charming and fun and easy to get into that you're doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a service. What am I trying to say? You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't own this. That's what I was trying to say. So, thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.